Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has tabled the Economic Survey 2024 in Parliament on the 22nd of July. The Economic Survey's conservative growth estimate of 6.5% to 7% is lower compared to 8.2% as compared with last year's data. According to the Chief Economic Advisor, a weak currency does not have a significant impact on India because the country has a very low external debt ratio. The Economic Survey 2024 has highlighted the resilience of the Indian economy despite global headwinds. The Economic Survey 2024 document stated that India's headline inflation rate is largely under control, although the inflation rate of some specific food items is elevated. Let's quickly take you through some findings of the economic survey, what the moot points were of this document that, of course, was tabled by the Finance Minister in Parliament today. So the Economic Survey 2024, the big takeaways, let's quickly run you through them. The economic growth stands at 6.5% to 7% in financial year 25. That's, of course, the projection versus what it stood at in 2023-24. Let's quickly go across to the next big takeaway. Domestic growth drivers supported economic growth in financial year 24. You can clearly see, of course, that was another big takeaway of what was put forth by Nirmala Sitharaman today. The Indian economy on a strong wicket and stable footing. That's what the economic survey also said. Also, another big takeaway is to sustain post-pandemic recovery. There has to be heavy lifting on the domestic front. Now, reaching agreements on key global issues is very important, like trade, investment and climate. That has, though, become also challenging. Short-term inflation outlook is benign, but India is facing some tough trouble. Let's try and slow that down a bit, please, because these are a lot of issues that we'd like to just delve on a bit before going across to the next slide. Another big takeaway is clearly, of course, the healthier corporate and bank balance sheets will further strengthen private investment as well. And tax compliance, of course, gains as well as expenditure restraint and digitization have helped India achieve a certain amount of balance in the fiscal management. These have been factors that have helped and aided us. Also, capital markets becoming very prominent in India's growth story. The growth there has been truly phenomenal so far. Also, increased FDI inflows from China can help India enhance participation in global supply chain is also something that was mentioned today. Well, joining us at this point is Yogendra Kapoor, economist. Let me quickly bring you in here, Yogendra Kapoor, on your first, analysis of the economic survey that was tabled today. What did you make of the findings and the projections as well?
Right today. The first thing that I would like to say is that the government is committed to understand and realize that it has to continue to act as a facilitator of our Indian economy. Now, there are certain gaps where I would say that, what we may always forecast or project, and when it comes to implementation, we see that on ground, the things are not taking the way, shape that they should be taking place. Now, if we look at the World Inequality Report, we see that 10% of our population, it is having a share of 60% of the total income of our country. And if we look at the bottom 50% of our country, it reflects that they are having a share of just 13%. So my point is that when this government talks about Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, it is very important that you have to take care of each and every segment of our or the state of our economy. The tag that has been taking place about this government time and again, that the policies are such which are favoring the people who are either skilled or who have the capacity to take large scale operations as such, but it's not benefiting the poor strata of our country. So my point is that it's very important that the government remains focused, that whether it is government expenditure, whether it is private expenditure, it should focus on the development, on the education as well as the medical front for the poor strata of the economy, because at the end of the day, a healthy India or a skilled India is only going to be a productive India.
Yes, Himanshu Verma, tax expert, also is with us live. Let me quickly bring you in, Himanshu, on what stood out for you in this economic survey. What stood out for you? What's something that surprised you? And what's something that met your expectations? Because this is a very, very important document, of course, coming in ahead of the budget tomorrow.
I believe you'll have to make that correction. I am there as an employment expert, and I speak about employment largely when it comes to economy.
We'll correct that. And that's why, of course, that will be important because, job creation is going to be one of the, important aspects that the FM will be delving on tomorrow. But ahead of that, what stood out for you in the document today, Himanshu?
Sure. So a few takeaways from the document, which is, of course, the report for the last financial year, I would say, is that government says that, yes, employment is a crucial link between growth and prosperity, and its quantity and quality determined to extent to which the economy translate into a better quality of life. These are the exact words that has been introduced when it comes to employment. And they've also used words like government is eyeing it as the bird's eye. So while they know the criticality of the situation, wherein the chief economic advisor has admitted that there is a need of 80 lakhs jobs per annum. So around in next 5 years, around 4 crores of jobs. However, on only few points they've mentioned how would these be. They've talked about the agro industry. They've talked about the population, which is translating or going from a particular set of employment to the different set of employment. However, they've not been able to outline the exact measures. They're only talking about the areas. It has been better than unemployment cut down. They'll be boasting of, I'm that word as if the current situation of employment is not that bright. It's not that flamboyant in the country, and the labor market or the labor intensive sectors all have been bleeding really badly since past few years. Though I'm not saying that measures have not been made by the government, but there hasn't been any measures from the very scratch. We've been only talking about the very few things that we've been doing since years. So nothing has particularly it has moved. It is all about artificial intelligence. They're talking about the gig work, the climate change, etc. and etc. that's spoken about in the economic survey.
Problems with your network. We will try and reconnect with you. Dr. Jaideep Bhattacharya also joins us now, President, Center for Digital Economy Policy Research. Dr. Bhattacharya, clearly, of course, a very, very important exercise, the tabling of the economic survey. It's clearly, of course, projected growth to be slightly lower than what was in the previous financial year, but higher, of course, than expectations of 6.5% earlier. Also, inflation declining, which is a positive. What did you make of the economic survey's findings?
So, clearly, we don't see the letting down of geopolitical challenges as we move in. The ability to be able to grow at a rate which is the potential of India will be pulled back by the geopolitical challenges. So,
unfortunately, with Dr. Bhattacharya's connection as well, we will reconnect with him. But Satya Kumar, economist, also is joining us now. Satya Kumar, clearly, of course, we are, getting the findings of the economic survey. We talk about the big takeaways. What stood out for you today? Also, market growth. Forex inflows, of course, at a big high, but markets in India are growing substantially. This is a big positive that has been highlighted and emphasized on in the economic survey as well.
Yeah, definitely. The economic survey has clearly indicated what could be the GDP growth, considering the fact that India has to achieve about 7%, and there are, of course, market sentiments getting affected. But I'm very sure that the budget that is expected tomorrow is going to cater to the needs of the holistic aspects of the country. The first priority that the budget has to look into is about the agriculture push, because we all know that the sector requires great attention by the legislators, considering the fact that there are many more policy push that is required for agriculture sector. So the first priority of the government is going to be for the agriculture sector. When I speak about agriculture sector, what should be done immediately? If you see, the agriculture sector is primarily through the sector called cooperative model of development. Agriculture is primarily affected by the cooperative model. But whereas if you see the tax structure for the cooperative sector, it is about 15% roughly. But I think this cooperative sector should be taxed at a minimum possible rate, because it is the members who are participating to when the members who participate in the cooperative sector, or if the capital remains with them, if the earnings remains with them, then definitely they are going to plow back to the members' benefit only. So cooperative sector definitely will, cooperative society will see definitely tax cut. Second important thing is about providing tax incentive for women startups in India. We all know women's participation has increased nowadays in the business, and digital infrastructure in the country has given squarely an opportunity for rural women as well as for the urban women. So here is an opportunity for the government to look at how to provide tax incentive for the women startups. In fact, startups by the women exclusively or leadership by the women should be incentivized in the budget, considering the fact that India has to harness the woman power. The third important thing is about the youth empowerment with respect to providing employment opportunity. We all know that micro, small and medium enterprises provide about 94% of employment opportunity. And the micro, small and medium enterprises operate in industry clusters around India. Take, for example, states like Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka have huge industrial opportunity, and all the districts are connected to industry cluster. So this clusters has to be incentivized, and employment generation and opportunity has to be generated in these industry clusters. So tax incentive is one model. Two, there should be a special fund for developing industry clusters in India. Take, for example, Tamil Nadu, we have Tirupur, which is primarily knitwear hub of the world. This knitwear hub of the world has got affected because of introduction of the GST. Of course, GST has a plus point, but GST has also spoiled many businesses, what I wanted to convey here. It has spoiled many business, considering the fact when they came into the tax net, many of the non-compliance aspect has been seriously looked up by the tax authority, and when they serve the notices, they not only serve the notices and subsequently they have frozen their account also because of the non-compliance by the industry. But this has to be rectified sooner, considering the fact that many industries, many companies and units in Tirupur has got affected. So this is just not Tirupur. Even if you say take Surat in Gujarat or Rajkot, many industries, MSMEs have got affected because of the continuous reform brought by the government. So here is an opportunity for the government to see how to incentivize industry clusters. There should be some special fund created for industry clusters development. Only through development of industry cluster by giving access to credit to MSME, the employment generation is possible. Infrastructure push and infrastructure allotment alone cannot bring the employment opportunity. Industry cluster and MSME has to be incentivized, and there are many pain points for the MSME, not just GST alone. And as they are coming into the formal economy, so they need to be incentivized and credit access has to be provided. Hardly 8% of the MSMEs have direct credit access from the bank. Rest of the 92% of the MSMEs don't have access to credit. So giving them access to credit is the most urgent, it is the most important thing, and it is a priority of the government. So I think the government is aware of all these problems. I can see from the economic survey also, capital formation is what is given as a push. So capital formation for whom? It is for the large corporate, or is it for the micro, small and medium enterprises? Definitely for micro, small and medium enterprises. The fifth important aspect is focusing on access to education for many of the aspirational districts. So I'm very sure that aspirational districts don't have, first of all, access to education. Then about the quality of education. So, but the providing access to education in the aspirational district identified by National Institution for Transforming India is also the priority of the government. So I'm expecting the budget to be around roughly about 40 lakh crore, 40 lakh crore to 45 lakh crores. We have from 2014 onwards, we have consistently increased our budget outlay, wherein we were about roughly about 22 lakh crore, and now we are reaching about, aiming to reach about 45 lakh crore is definitely a great aspiration plan for the India. But from the perspective of public sector undertaking, asset monetization is a good idea, but considering only asset monetization alone is not going to help us. So there are many more fiscal consolidation measures where Indian government has to take. For example, some percentage of the shares can even be diluted in the public sector undertaking. More public participation can happen in the government sector. So they need to categorize the public sector undertaking into 3 levels. One, public sector undertaking where it is highly profitable. Those public sector undertaking, they can tap the capital market wherein they can dilute. The government can actually dilute even more to see that more capital infusion happens through the public participation. And second, asset monetization with respect to LIC has to be seriously looked into, because LIC as such has a lot of properties across the country. Managing those properties is a Herculean task, but business of LIC is insurance. So considering it, more focus should be given on the business of insurance rather than managing those properties, and asset monetization is a good plan. Over a period of time, LIC's assets have appreciated, and it is appreciated to an extent where there are 1000% appreciation. There are about 500% appreciation in the real estate properties of the LIC, and most of these properties are rented out for nominal rent. So, and there are many disputes going around the country with respect to LIC's property. So I'm sure LIC idea of asset monetization or a public sector undertaking, which is profitable public sector undertaking, diluting its government diluting its portion of share, will give more impetus for fiscal consolidation measure.
Yogendra Kapoor, come in here. Yogendra Kapoor, come in here as well on, also the currency of the rupee. Where is the rupee headed, and also has the stability of the rupee also been achieved over the last couple of years?
Okay. See, I think I'd like to add on over Satya that the focus of the government in this budget should be to incentivize agriculture as well as the manufacturing sector, because I think now there is a clear realization before the government that the large-scale employment can only come through these sectors, and they together comprise of 50% of our GDP. The rest 50%, it goes through the services sector. So my point is that the policy of the government should be such that they encourage agriculture sector, manufacturing sector, because it will create jobs, it will reduce poverty, and it will also reduce the inequality that exists in our society. Further, adding to your point, as I see that the currency, the internationalization of our currency, which I think RBI has done a remarkable job in promoting our currency, and we see that due to the benefits of our digitization, we are already able to see that our currency is getting utilized in, I think it's now over 14 countries where our Indian rupee is being accepted. And going forward, I see that our currency as such, as compared to US dollar, it is going to remain stable for a while.
Right. I think we've got back Dr. Bhattacharya now. Dr. Bhattacharya, if you're through with us now, please complete the point you were making earlier. We had lost you.
Yeah, my limited point was that we need to understand why there is a prediction that the growth rate may dip a bit in the coming year, is because we have not really stabilized from a geopolitical perspective. We see more conflicts coming from a geopolitical perspective that will clearly have an impact on the Indian economy, and therefore it's prudent to have a more diminished expectation of the growth. But having said that, it's a growth of a very high magnitude of a very large base. So that's something to be really cheerful about. Also, as the survey seems to be pointing at, that the whole objective of the economy is not to grow at, let's say, 10% or 8%, but to have a stable growth while ensuring that the vulnerable sections of the population are taken care of. If you are having a secular stable growth, that's a more desirable factor than having 10% growth for 5, 6, 7 years, and then having a great crash. We are seeing that happening, in China. That's unfolding as we speak. That should not happen to India. While we are on that subject, we need to ensure that we are protected from dumping from neighboring countries and from all over the world, thanks to some of the FTAs that were signed around 2009, 2010. And those FTAs are coming back and biting us. So I hope that in the upcoming budget, some of these issues are taken care of, including what the industry has been screaming about the inverted duty structure. It's unacceptable that we, through our tariff policies, are discriminating against our own industries. And so our industry is not getting market access to either the Indian market or to market abroad. And the strange situation that we see is that we are being accused, our industry has been accused of being uncompetitive and therefore not being given any support while they are being slapped with anti-dumping duties in Europe. So one must decide, either we are so competitive that there's anti-dumping duty being slapped, or we are not competitive and therefore we need support. So there is a significant rethink that needs to be done with respect to our domestic industry. If you simply look at, let's say, critical minerals, the input cost, the tariff on the input raw material, molybdenum oxide, is 2.5%, whereas the finished good, the Koreans can export to India at 0%, which is ferromolybdenum. That's quite unfair. And we are as competitive as anybody else. The same is the case in terms of energy security. If you look at ammonium nitrate, if we don't increase the tariffs, we will not be able to ever build our capability in this country. And if we don't do that, we'll always be looking around for ammonium nitrate to make the explosives that go into coal, which then fuel 70% of our energy requirements. So, I would expect that tomorrow's budget takes care of some of these issues. But something that's very interesting that came out of the survey, the economic survey, is a special focus on agriculture. I think it's basically asking for a refocus on agriculture, a more innovative approach to reviving agriculture than simply putting in more subsidies. So it doesn't say that take away subsidies, but it's saying we need to do more. And I hope I see more is being done, both in terms of supporting core agriculture, but also the ancillary industries, the food processing around core agriculture, automation of agriculture, and so on and so forth. So it'll be very interesting to see how the budget shapes up tomorrow.
Absolutely. Let me, in fact, get back in Himanshu Verma as well. Himanshu, we lost you too, but you were telling us about what are going to be the, the job creation drivers that you're looking for, and that we've got some indication of in the economic survey.
Yeah, that's right. So I was pointing lastly also about there's no clear picture which government has drawn. While they appreciate themselves saying that the Indian labor market indicators have improved in the last 6 years, the periodic labor force survey data, helps in telling us that. They also say that the unemployment rate is declining with a 3.2% from 22-23. So all these factors, while they are saying they are somehow, appreciating themselves, saying that they've done significant, and at the same time, on the other hand, they're saying the CH says that they need to create around 80 lakhs job per annum, which amounts to around 4 crore jobs for next 5 years. I'm not sure how this mammoth number would be met, but only by keeping in mind the agro or the labor-intensive sectors, we cannot move to those mammoth numbers. We need to do something where we need to unlearn few things and again learn new things in the economy to mobilize this, to incentivize this, to make this at a rocketing speed where we have these 80 lakh jobs or the 4 crore jobs coming in next 5 years. Because we've been seeing all these surveys happening year and year and year. It's just a document, it's just a report of what has been done. And it also talks about what is there in the upcoming budget. It indicates a line, an outline as to what is the intent. The intent is very clear, but the content still is blurry. It is not, very clear. So that's how we need to understand, and we'll have to look up to the final budget coming in, that what has been done from the scratch to boost this to get to 80 lakhs jobs target per annum.
Yes. Is it also, reassuring that fiscal deficit has come down, Satya Kumar, and also inflation has come under control as well. And it's quite interesting. Repo rate goes up, the inflation rate consistently comes down.
Yeah, definitely this relationship between repo rate, fiscal deficit and inflation has to be looked up by the government very seriously. And as you have seen, it is only managing the inflation and fiscal deficit. It doesn't come automatically down or doesn't go up automatically. It's all about managing it's about fiscal management ideally. So considering this fact, that is not a great achievement to put it across. As of now, of course, the Fiscal Management and Budgetary Management Act requires it to be around 3%. But it is not necessarily that we need to achieve 3%. We can manage some up to about 4.5% is my 4.5 to 5% is my personal opinion. But what we need to really look at now is to have a growth plan for the country. So we are talking about Vikshit Bharat, Atmanirbhar Bharat. We have different slogans, but actual impetus need to be provided to deserving sector. Now, according to me, the deserving sector is agriculture. I see in the economic survey, there are some innovative things spoken, the jargon spoken. Ultimately, what is the problem for farmers? That has to be seen. The main problem for the farmers is insurance for the crop. So there is a crop insurance scheme brought by the government, but that crop insurance scheme is not reaching to the last man citizen in the country. So government has to increase the outlay for crop insurance scheme of the government. They have a system in place. Crop insurance system is there. Ministry of Agriculture has it, but reaching to the farmers, it does not happen. Even awareness level is also not there. Many of the farmers who are taking risk in cultivating, they don't even know this crop insurance is existing. Leave alone that the government is allocating for the crop insurance. So let us get into the real problem. We are not, of course, fiscal deficit has to be managed, but fiscal deficit alone is not a problem. We need to increase the allocation for the most deserving sector. Second important thing has to be, as rightly told by the guest in the panel, MSME sector interlinking with the FTA, bilateral agreements that the government signs with the different government has to be looked as an opportunity. See, there is a set of bilateral agreements that the government signs. Whenever Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi visits a country, there is a bilateral agreement signed. Now, India has signed an FTA with Switzerland, foreign trade agreement. The question here is whether MSME knew what are the benefits that are flowing out of FTA. But whereas, if you see a country like Korea or China, whenever a new policy comes, all the industry people are enlightened how to plan their future or export based on the agreement signed. Here we have a government which takes effort to sign those agreements, but it does not reach to the industry. So there need to be a system created to bring awareness about what are the policy, which is an opportunity for micro, small and medium enterprises. Can you imagine?
Okay.
Central government also brings up a MSME scheme. State government also has an MSME scheme.
Okay.
If you combine both, they are nearly about 800 to 900 schemes.
That's a good
which
point.
Allocation happens already.
That's a good point.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.